Went all in, play my cards right. Up the ante, won blackjack all night. Roll the dice, let it ride. Water the odds, I got snake eyes.
Entrepreneur Perspectives is produced by Quiet Loud Studios, a production company and content network. Learn more at quietloudstudios.com.
Really excited. Like I said, I was reading your bio. I just thought it was so interesting and kind of a diverse. So you seem to be an interesting person. And so tell me where you're from. I'd love to hear where you're from.
Can't tell. What do you think?
New York?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And nobody ever misses that.
That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
So you grew up in New York?
Grew up in New York, but I've been in North Carolina since 1998.
Okay.
But I haven't lost my accent.
Yeah.
I don't plan on it either.
But if you went back up to New York, they'd probably say you had a Southern accent.
No, not really. I try to stick to New York, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I do my training. I'm very direct with my training.
There you go.
But not offensive.
Yeah. So New York City, is that where you're from?
Grew up in Long Island.
Okay.
But then when my parents finally threw me out there, I went to the city for a little while.
Okay.
But then I kind of went to New England, spent a little time in New England, kind of got my racing career going there. And then, as I said, in 98, I came to North Carolina, to Charlotte, for motorsports.
Okay.
That's the reason I came to this area.
Yep.
Nothing to do with dogs at the time.
Right.
And then my NASCAR career evolved pretty well. But then I got tired of the travel.
Right.
But in the meantime, I had started a pet sitting business, because when I traveled for NASCAR, I could never find anybody to take care of my dogs the way I wanted them to.
Right.
They didn't show up, or they didn't give the medicine, and I said, when I'm done with NASCAR, when I'm done with this travel stuff, I'm going to start a pet sitting business in Lake Norman and kick everybody's ass.
Wow.
And I did it.
That's great.
And so I started doing it myself, walk the dogs and things like that. And I realized dogs have problems. They bark at other dogs. They jump on people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got interested in trying to change some behaviors there.
That's interesting.
And here I am.
Yeah, I want to hear a lot more about that.
Yeah.
So how long were you in the NASCAR?
So, when I moved down in 1998, I really came without a job, and I was looking to be a spotter.
Okay.
And so I had done that in New England for short tracks, some friends and stuff, and I liked it. I thought I did pretty well, but I moved down to North Carolina hoping to just meet some people and work for free, which I did.
Okay.
And I would find the worst guy who had no spotter and had no money, and he gave me a radio, and I would be his spotter. And I did. And I did that I traveled the whole circuit in my car by myself for like 2 years.
Oh, wow.
But I started meeting people and building a network of people, and I started honing my skills. And then after a while, then the people that I was working with, they'd run out of money, so I'd have to find somebody else.
Yep.
But then as I got better and better, I met more people. People started recognizing that I'm probably okay doing this stuff.
Right.
And the first guy that I actually worked for that got paid money for real money was Ricky Craven.
Okay, I remember.
Who I knew Ricky from New England,
Okay.
where I started, and so I started working with him, and it built from there.
What's the challenge of being a spotter? Tell me a little bit more about what you're doing. I know you're watching the track and...
Yeah, so every car has a spotter, and I always like to describe the job as a second set of eyes, like an air traffic controller, but also a priest, a therapist, a cheerleader, all in one.
Okay.
Because throughout the race, the moods change and the vibe changes during the race. So drivers are very impatient, and they want to do the best they can right away.
Yep.
So in 2 laps, the cars are not running well. The drivers, they start to get edgy, and they're complaining to the crew chief, and we can't drive this car. And then you got to settle them down. And then if things aren't going well, you got to cheer them up. And it's really about perspective is
Right.
really what it is. So those skills, I got pretty good at that. The drivers that I work with, I started with Matt Kenseth. I worked with him as a rookie. A great guy, but he was emotional. When he was getting started,
Right.
it was the worst race ever, the best race ever, and it would go up and down. So having to get on the same page with him was really important. And we worked together for a long time, and I really got to know the way he thought. And if you know how your driver is thinking and I could almost predict what he was going to say before he said it.
Right.
It's like a married couple. You finish each other's sentences.
Yep.
So I knew him really well. And so I was able to navigate through the race and give him the information that he needs, calm him down when he needs to be calmed down, pep him up when he needs to be pepped up.
It's like a coach.
Like a coach, yeah.
That's cool. So you spent how many years doing that?
So I started working with Matt in 2000 as a rookie,
Okay.
and then he actually changed teams in 2013. I stayed, that was with Roush Fenway Racing. I stayed with them for another couple of years. I worked with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., won 2 championships with him. Then I had enough.
Yep.
I had enough of the travel. It was like, I love the job. I would do the job today again if I could show up on race day and leave the same day, not have to pack a bag. I would do it.
Big commitment.
Yeah, because I love it. But typically you're gone, 4 days and living out of suitcases and, eating garbage food. But if I could do that job again, I'm just on Sundays, I'd do it.
Yeah, I've got a friend of mine that he's actually an insurance agent now in Mooresville, but he spent about 20 years as a tire changer.
Okay, yeah.
And kind of the same thing, it was the travel and, of course, a little bit, physical too. Like he said, it was a very physical.
Absolutely. Well, not for me.
Yeah.
You kind of age out of that job.
Yep.
Tire carriers, tire changers, guys like that going over the wall. There's a lot of physical demands on you. So those guys age out pretty good.
Interesting. So then so when you got out of that, did you go immediately into the dog training? And
yeah. So what I did was, I started the pet sitting business when I was done with that and built that up. I haven't done that in years. I've, a good staff of people doing that every day. But as the dog training started, as I started figuring out some good things and making some progress with dogs, I said, I'm going to start a business with this. And I did. And I went to an online school for a while, for like 6 months, and it moved too slowly. I was actually figuring out things on my own, different methods, all positive reinforcement things. And I developed this, I don't even know how to describe it, but I kind of figured out how dogs think.
Right.
Kind of like I figured out how race car drivers thought,
That's interesting.
And so most of my dog training is really based on dog psychology. And so I teach my clients, if you know how your dog is thinking, you're going to know what to do in certain situations.
Right.
And so I started this business. I actually hired another trainer to work with me, and I learned a lot from her. And then she wound up learning some from me, and she actually went and started her own business as well. And I still, she has another business that I actually use for my dogs.
Right.
And I just started doing my own thing. And I've always had a good knack for some marketing, so I marketed myself well. I did have a good base in North Carolina of NASCAR people, so that kind of took off. I worked with a lot of drivers and their dogs, and obviously they told other people, and I built up this business. So really, my dog training business really got rocking about 2017 to now.
So I guess I was going to ask you too, is how much of it is training the dog and how much is it training the owner?
Yeah, it's about 10% on the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of it's on the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know my daughter, I think I told you, my daughter just got a dog and just beautiful dog and very sweet and pretty easy to potty train, but she jumps. And so you're trying to teach her not to jump. She likes to chew electrical cords.
Yeah.
So you're trying to teach her not to do that.
Yeah, you can't teach a dog not to chew electrical cords. You can't teach them not to jump either. Most people, what they do is they wind up teaching their dog to chew electrical cords and teaching them to jump.
Right.
And how does that happen? Well, I always say there's not a command for everything. Like you can't tell the dog, don't chew those cords.
Right.
It's not going to happen. Dogs are looking at you, I don't know what you're saying. Because you can tell them, don't chew the cords, or you can say, make me coffee, or go get the mail. They don't know.
Right.
So if you want your dog to not chew the cords, you know what you got to do? You got to manage the dog. You got to tape the cords up. You got to make it so the dog can't chew on the cords.
So I know some people, though, you have the shock collars that you could use that give them sort of some negative reinforcement when they're doing that. What's your thought about that?
I think anybody that does that's a moron.
Right.
Because you can't punish the dog.
For being a dog,
For being a dog.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
That's interesting.
So, and people do it all the time. I have cases now, like referred from vets, where people have used shock collars on dogs, on puppies, and they've shut down.
Right.
It's a spirit breaker. It's a relationship breaker. You can't, if you don't want your dog to jump, you teach them an alternative to jumping. And how do you do that? Well, most people teach the behaviors that the people don't like, that most people don't like, they've taught.
Right.
And how does that happen? You get a puppy and the dog, you're walking around the house a little bit and it puts his little paws on your leg. What do? You pet him.
Right.
Right? Paws are up and you pet him. Oh, good little boy.
Right.
And then he wants to get on the couch. And he can't get on the couch, but you want him on this, so he puts his paws up and you pick him up.
Right.
You taught him this is good again.
Right.
Now, when he wants something from you, he's going to jump.
Right.
But then you get mad, but you train him to do it.
Right. That's interesting.
So for jumping, and you could tell your daughter this, if I go to a consultation and dogs are jumping on me, first of all, the people apologize. They say, oh, I'm so sorry, dog. She's jumping. And I said, don't apologize to me. I made a whole business out of this.
Right.
Right. But I stand there and I just wait. I wait till the dog stops doing it. If I pet him, if I say something to him, I look at him, I point, whatever. No, all this stuff, none of that works. When he sits on his own, without me asking, I'm going to reward them right away.
Positive yeah.
Yeah, show them.
Yeah.
Do that. You'll get some attention. You're doing this jumping, you get nothing.
Yep.
You sit, you calm, you get everything.
Yep.
And that's how dogs learn. That is dog psychology right there.
Very
It's
interesting.
very transactional. They want something for everything, and they'll figure out what's getting them that reward.
Right.
And when you teach a dog that calm behavior is what's winning for them, they'll do more of that.
Oh, that's interesting. Are different breeds easier to train than others, or?
Not really. I mean, all dogs, they all do the same thing. All these puppies, they're all the same. Every one of them, every breed. The size doesn't matter. The breed doesn't matter. The first year is chaotic. And like month 4, month 7, and month 11 is when people lose their minds.
Right.
It's just everyone. Mine did the same thing when I had puppies. Month 4, biting. A lot of biting, nipping, biting,
Right.
because adult teeth are coming in. Month 7, it's like a teenager. Very defiant. Things they know, they say, I know it, I'm not doing it. You
Yeah.
call the name, I'll get back to you. Right? That's how that lasts for about 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the 11th month, right before the year, is like a kid about to graduate high school or go to college. My parents don't know anything. I'm a big boy now, and you can't tell me what to do. That lasts for a couple of weeks too.
Right.
And then you hit a year, and you start to see some good, positive change. And the next year, if you stay up with the training, everything trends in the right direction. It takes about 2 years for a puppy to be really where you want that puppy
And
to
you just
be.
have to be consistent.
And
with them.
patient.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
We're not patient people.
That's good. No, yeah, you want it right away.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I told you I was keeping my daughter's dog for 30 days, and my puppy, and but she was pretty easy to. My son said, he's got his dog. He said, Dad, just take her out frequently.
Yeah.
He goes, when she pees, give her a little treat. And I mean, that worked perfectly.
Yeah.
And I would walk out and I'd have that little treat in my right hand, and she would go out. Now, sometimes I think she was faking it, but then she would come right to that right hand. Like she knew exactly.
100%.
Yeah. And so that was pretty easy.
Yep.
The jumping and things, I think what you just said makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So,
Dogs, they thrive on predictability,
right.
a predictable environment. So by you bringing that treat out every time, and that dog is peeing, while that dog is starting to look up at you,
Yep.
like getting ready for
Free
that
time. Yeah.
that hand,
Yeah.
because that's a predictable pattern.
Yep.
And that's how dogs learn.
Yeah. I told you about, we have another dog, and it's like you said, it's not really that they understand English, but sometimes you're sort of amazed, and like we'll get ready, like, we'll say, get in your crate when we're going out to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So the dog actually, if we say, let's go, we'll be sitting on the couch, let's go, he'll automatically go get in his crate. Like he just like knows, like, okay, they're going to eat, and I'll go, I know what I'm supposed to do. It's amazing how.
Because that's predictable.
Yeah.
And it's a pattern. And so I always say, dogs are taking notes all day. They see what we do, and they know what's coming next. Like you put your shoes on, they know.
Yeah.
Like something's about to happen.
Right.
And so they start to figure these things out. Dog, they're intelligent.
Yeah.
But they're really feeding off of what we do.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, do you have your own place where they bring the dog,
Nope.
or you're going to them?
Now, I would say my facility is parked in your driveway.
Okay.
Because I do all in-home training for the basic obedience, all the obedience stuff. And then I do what I call field trips. We go out in public. Like we go to Lowe's, we go to Birkdale, we go to Jeton Park, different environments to teach the dog and teach the people how they should navigate life. Socialization is all about just navigating life.
Right. Interesting. So tell me a little bit about, so the business started getting going, you were having some success. What were the business challenges maybe that you faced in getting your business going? It sounded like you had a really good idea for what you wanted to do, but there's always challenges and things that are unexpected.
I got to be honest with you, not a lot of challenges. When I started getting some traction and getting results, like the word spread,
Yep.
like in throughout the whole Lake Norman area, and then vets started hearing about me and referring me for puppies and then for behavioral cases. So I do probably a mix of probably 75% are behavioral cases and 25% puppies.
Okay.
Still plenty. And there's puppies obviously all the time, but behavioral cases like, aggression, reactivity, leash walking, fears, anxieties, things like that. Those are the cases that get me up in the morning to work on those.
So you're working with some older dogs then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is that harder to do?
No.
Okay.
No, because it's really work with the people. Like I work with the dogs in concert with the people, and I'm showing them what to do. But when you have a behavioral case where the dog, I have one now where people that have two boxers that are siblings and they're 4 years old and they fight with each other, like constantly. Like
Right.
for a year, they've had them for a year. And since day one, the dogs have fought with each other over food, over bones, over attention, over space,
Right.
like a piece of furniture or a room. They didn't know what to do. And so, they went to their vet, and the vet gave them my information. And so I've been working with them probably for about 4 months now. And that dogs have bitten everybody in the family too,
Oh, wow.
because people you go to break up a dog fight, you're going to get bit.
Right.
Usually both the dogs will turn on you, even your own dogs, because they're in that heightened state and they don't even know what's going on. And they think you could be another dog. They don't even know.
Right.
So people get bit all the time. So cases like that, like I love that stuff because, everybody says you got to rehome those dogs, or behavioral euthanization, which a lot of people would do because everyone in the family has been to the hospital.
Right.
Because they're dogs, but they love the dogs.
Right.
And so when I can go in there and help them, and I got a muzzle trained, we keep the dogs separate, obviously, for during food. We use tethers. We do a lot of things. These aren't dogs that are going to be able to, bring to Lowe's.
Right.
They don't even walk them on the street, but they have a nice yard. And so they just want to be able to live with the dogs as they are, and without having to get rid of them or you couldn't even rehome those dogs, honestly. You just couldn't do it. You'd have to put them down.
Right.
But so when I get cases like that and that starts to trend in the right direction, I can't wait to get up in the morning and do it again.
That's awesome. It's interesting. We talked a little bit about personalities of
Mhm.
dogs. And like you said, your psychology, there's psychology in dealing with a driver. There's psychology with dealing with the dogs. But it is amazing to me that my son has a dog. It's about 55 pounds. Sweetest dog, crazy, just a happy dog. But his eating patterns, like he does not, like when his food goes in the bowl, he's not on it. Like he's just not, now the other dog that weighs 18 pounds,
Mhm.
we always joke and say he eats like he was in prison or
Right.
something because he's, boom, 45 seconds, that food is gone.
Yeah.
But the bigger dog is a picker. Like he'll just go pick a little bit and,
Yeah.
come back. But it's amazing that those personality traits and
It's not necessarily personality.
Yeah.
What that is it's a common thing where dogs, they eat a lot. Some dogs will eat every time it goes down. Some dogs will go and take a look and I'll get back to it later.
Yep.
And they'll take a few pieces and they'll come back to it. And then they're almost eating inconsistently, right? And so you really don't know if they're eating enough food.
Right.
So you want to really train the dog to eat when the food goes down.
Right.
I do that all the time. But I'll tell you this too. You like pizza?
Yes.
Who doesn't, right?
Yep.
If I told you eat pizza every day for lunch for the next month, you said, I could do it. I love pizza. I could do it every day. I'm going to tell you what, after 5 or 6 days, you're not looking forward to pizza.
That's a great story because when I was in college, of course, I was a poor college kid. I worked at a pizza place and I worked there for 2.5 years
Mhm.
and I ate pizza every day, mostly because like if I didn't eat pizza, I might not have anything to eat
Right.
that day. And, we would love if somebody would leave didn't come pick their pizza up because then they'd say, okay, take it home.
Right.
But I literally did eat pizza every day. And
Uh-huh.
I am a pizza fanatic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure you might be too. So,
I love pizza.
Yeah.
But I don't think I
get
could
what
eat it
you're
every
saying.
day.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So, like my dogs, I keep my dogs eating. All three of them, they eat when the food goes down because every day I have something different in their food. I'll put some bone broth in there, some
Yep.
shredded cheese,
Oh, yeah, they love
some
that.
pumpkin. Keep it interesting, and
Yeah.
then they'll eat. Otherwise, it'll always be here. It's the same stuff anyway.
Right. And maybe they're secure that I don't need to wolf it down because it's there.
As long as they're living.
Yeah, the smaller dog, like he will eat,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, you could fill it back up and
And eat some more.
he'd eat it again. I don't even know where it's going. Like he's not that big, but man, he just loves
He's
to
packing
eat.
it away.
Yeah, so interesting. So you've really been in the business, I guess, about 9 or 10 years
Yep.
on what you're doing now, and your business continues to expand.
Yeah, well, it's bigger than I need it to be, honestly. I work a lot. I do it all myself. I've had other trainers that have worked for me, but honestly, they're not bad trainers.
Right.
They don't do it the way I do it. I offer a lot of interaction with the clients. Like they could text me all the time, and I can't expect other people to keep up with that stuff.
Right.
And so when I was doing that with other trainers, I would be on their group text too with the clients. And if they couldn't answer, then I would answer because I wanted to get them an answer quickly.
Right.
And so I figured I was spending more time like just following up with what other people were doing and not really focusing on my stuff. So I said, I'll just do it all myself. I'll do what I can. And, I turn down cases all the time, not only for time, but I only have so much bandwidth. I mean,
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how to add hours to the day and days to the week. Cause if I could, I would,
Yep.
cause I love doing it.
Yep.
But I do as much as I can. But I'm always busy. I'm grateful for that.
What's a typical, like if you get a puppy, what's your involvement? Is it pretty intensive for a certain period of time? And
Yeah. So the way it typically works, like for puppy training, a lot of times I'll get a client they'll sign up before they even get their dog. And what I do with them is I help them get their house set up. I took everything they're going to need, the crates, all the right treats, usually like an exercise pen or something to get management going. I give them my potty training plan, which is bulletproof if they follow it. So they're ready to go. And they pick up that dog. That dog comes home day one, they're rocking and rolling. And then I give them some things to do to practice with the dog, to get acclimated. And then usually about 3 weeks after they get the puppy is when I'm there for the first session. And I do the first session. There's a break of about 2 weeks to practice those things.
Right.
And then typically it's weekly after that. It really depends on the dog too, on the age of the dog, because they have to be fully vaccinated, which is like 16 weeks
right.
before we can take them out in public places
Right.
for socialization. So, but that's usually the cadence of it. And then even when the puppy, when we're done with the training, they can always ask me questions.
Sure.
I let them just
So
text
a lot
me.
of a lot of involvement from the owner. Like you said, hey, we practice this, and then for 2 weeks we reinforce that. And
yeah, they have to do the work. When I leave, that's when the training starts, because I train them and I'm available to answer questions. And I have this app where they can go, if they're going out for socialization, say to take their puppy, or even with reactive dogs, I have a different tracker for them, where they'll go out and say, all right, we went out to Birkdale. We went there for 20 minutes. We saw 3 dogs. We saw 5 people. We had some reactivity with this and we didn't have with that. And so I keep a chart of that stuff so we can see, again, how we're trending, make sure we're going in the right direction.
Right.
But it keeps them accountable, because every once in a while I'll be at a consultation and like someone will say to me, what if we do all the sessions? Like if they have a reactive dog, so we do all the sessions, and when we're done, the dog is no different. They said, what are you going to do about it? And I tell them the same thing, nothing. And they said, what do you mean nothing? Why would you do nothing? I said, well, what do you want me to do? So, no, we do all the sessions, and then the dog is still the same. And then what? I said, I don't know. Because it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to show you what to do. You have access to me every day. You can ask me plenty of questions. You have to do it.
Right.
We're doing it together.
Right.
But you have to now, when I leave, that's when the training starts.
That's the most important part.
Yeah. So because the truth is, when I'm around, like with dogs, when I go back to a dog for the second, the third time, they recognize me as the guy with the food.
Yeah.
Right. So they're very
receptive.
Very receptive.
Come on in.
Yeah. So they can't wait. They sit right away. They don't jump on me because they know.
Right.
And when clients will say to me, how come the dog is always great for you? Every time leash walks great on the leash with you. I said, because I do the same thing every single time.
Right.
That works. If you do the same thing every single time that works, your dog will walk for you too.
That's like when you go to school and your kid, the parent-teacher conference, and the teacher talks about how great your kid is and how calm he is, and you're like, wait a minute, you talking about the right kid?
Yeah, you're right. There's a tornado when the kid gets home and they're wondering why.
That's hilarious.
But, I would say, if dogs have the ability to do it with me, they certainly have it to do with you. If you do what I do and you follow the steps and the cadence of how we do these things, and you're using the right value of the rewards and the right words, they'll do it for you.
Right. So it's really neat. You seem to have a really good, even when you were still in NASCAR, you seem to have a real vision of what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody does that. And sometimes you get in business and like I was working with a guy he was an NFL football player. And he got hurt and he had to leave the NFL. And the owner told him, you ought to buy Bojangles.
Mm-hmm.
And he bought into Bojangles franchises. But he said, I really didn't know. I did it because the owner was a millionaire or billionaire. And he told me you could do this and this would be great. But he talked about some of the things that he had to go on. And he said, you really got to watch. I got 10 stores and you got 10 managers. And you really have to watch what's going on. And he said, I learned the hard way on a couple of things that, I didn't watch a store. And he said, all of a sudden my food cost is way up. And he said, how could that one store something's going on. And he said, I figured it out. But so there's a little trial and error in there. But
Absolutely.
you seem like you had a really great vision.
Yeah. I struggle to say this, but like, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I have some common sense, right? And people, if they send me a consultation form or they call on the phone, I'm very receptive to it right away. And they're always surprised when, like, they'll send in a form and then within a few hours, I'll respond back to them. I got your form and I'm going to give you some days and times that I can come see you for a free consultation. And they say, oh, I can't believe you responded so fast, because a lot of businesses don't do that. Right. They say, all right, I'll put it in the pile. We'll get to it. My theory on that stuff is nobody ever sends in, I've never gotten a consultation form or a phone call saying, so I want to let you know, I have a 2-year-old dog that I rescued. He's perfect. He doesn't jump on people. He walks great on the leash. He's fantastic. When people come over, I just want to let you know. I don't get any of those forms, right? Everybody, if you're getting a hold of me, you got issues. Something's going on. And so my theory on that stuff, especially at the beginning, was somebody is going to train that dog.
Right.
And those people. Why shouldn't it be me?
That's right.
Right. And so doing that early on, and I still do that today, like I'm a very competitive person. NASCAR made me a competitive person. I want to win. And so it's not like it's a big race, but the fact is someone is going to be training that dog. And now they might find I might be the first person to respond, but I might be the highest price too. And then that's okay.
Yeah.
I always say the prices are the prices. And I'll tell people at a consultation, if they, you don't like me, you don't like the price, whatever. But you have a dog that's barking at other dogs and pulling on a leash, get somebody to help you.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be me, but get someone to help you so your life is better with your dog. They don't wind up back at the shelter.
Not to make you share any trade secrets or anything, but the pulling on the leash thing is interesting. What do you do?
Dogs pull on the leash naturally.
Right.
Okay. It's unnatural, first of all, for a dog to be on a leash, right? They run in packs. They want to be on the move. You put a cord on a dog to a human. It's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And so dogs have something that every dog has this. It's called opposition reflex. So they go against pressure.
Right.
And the way to test that, if you can test it with your own dog, is you have the dog sit in front of you with a leash on and even a regular collar. And when he's looking at you, you just put a little bit of very little pressure on the leash. And you'll see, instead of that dog will not get up.
Right.
He's going to lean back. He's going against the pressure.
Right.
So that's why dogs pull on the leash.
Right.
So you cannot train a dog not to have that reflex, but you can mitigate it with the right harness, not a prong collar, not a shock collar, but the right harness.
Right.
And that takes about half the pull out of it, probably about 50%. The other 50% is what I teach, and that's to be engaged with the dog. If you said, I'm going to go take, what's your dog's name?
Well, one of them, Samson, yeah.
So if you said, I'm going to go take Samson for a walk, I would say, instead of doing that, why don't you go on a walk with Samson? Different context, change the whole meaning for the dog. You're going to do it together. So you have to make yourself more interesting on that walk than the environment, because that's the biggest competition out there is everything. They hear a noise, a car, a kid on a bike, another dog barking.
Right.
You have to be engaged with your dog so you have a better chance of having him walk with you as opposed to pulling you on that leash.
That's interesting.
And so if you do that, I wrote a whole book about it. It's called Leash Connection,
right.
One of my books. And it's all about having a relationship with your dog. You want your dog not to want to pull.
Right.
That's the key.
Stay with you.
Yeah, it's like recall. Like people say, I want my dog to come. And when I call, I want him to come. Right. I'm like, oh, how do you call him? He says, I say, Samson, come. And then the dog looks and goes, yeah, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
No, not interested. I'm outside. I'm having a blast, right? And so I don't even do that. I have a whole different way of doing recall. Recall is a relationship. You want your dog to, when he hears his name and you call him, you want him to want to come.
Right.
Like every time. You got to make him, maybe it's a little party outside, but it's a big soiree in the inside.
That's
Come
it.
on.
Yep.
And then you start shaping the dog to think like that, because that's what it's all about, getting him just to think in those terms. He'll come every time.
Interesting.
I can have my dog. I don't go to dog parks with my dogs because they're usually dirty. But if I were to bring my dogs, the three of them, and they are 2, 4, and 6. If I would bring them to a dog park and they'd be running around like lunatics, which they will do, which they do in my yard.
Right.
And I call them in a normal voice, they come every time, every single time, because I made it worth their while to come. Better choice. Come to me.
Yeah, I heard my son's dog one time. I was keeping him, and I took him out to go, just go to the bathroom. He's great. Like, he's just great. But he wanted to be outside, and I turned to kind of take him back inside because I was leaving, and he just went like that, and he pulled out of the collar.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about something that scared me to death. He shot for the road. I can't catch him.
Right.
You're not going to catch him. And he got across the road. He ran across the road, never looked. And if the car had been there, it had killed him. He's running down the sidewalk. I got no shot.
Yeah.
Thank God for telephone poles, because he stopped to sniff a telephone pole, and I grabbed him. But I heard somebody say that's not the thing to do. You don't chase them. Is actually you stop, and they'll come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, for sure. So where people go wrong with their dogs, like they want to give them exercise. So they bring them out in the yard as puppies, and they want them to run. The dog just sniffing around. So they start getting them to run. Then they wave, go, come on, and get the dog running. And so you're teaching the dog a new game. The game is run away from me.
Right.
And so when you go outside, and now the context is different, then there's no security with a fence, and the dog is, and you start to go after that dog, the game is on. He doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't know the difference inside the fence, outside the fence. And so you essentially train the dog to keep running. So I teach people that right at the beginning, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to teach that dog to chase you back to the house.
Right.
And you get him running, and you just start running, and he chases you, and he catches you, you give him a reward every time.
There you go.
So if the dog gets off, now, again, it's all based on context. If it's a busy road, there's a lot of things going on. There's a cat over there. There's more dogs or people. If you haven't built up a good relationship, a listening relationship with your dog, getting his attention is going to be a little more difficult. But if you can get his attention and you start going back the other way,
he's going with you.
He's going to go with you.
Yeah.
It's hard in that situation, though, to stop and think, because your inclination is going to be, I got to get that dog because he's going across the street. So you got to go after him. But you wouldn't be hard for anybody to see that dog and say, I'll just go back to the house.
Yep.
You're not going to do that.
I'm telling you, my hands were trembling.
I guarantee it.
Because, I said that scenario could have been really bad. And I was meeting my son somewhere, and I said, man, I just had the worst experience. And I mean, my hands were still.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. Because
I've seen it with clients. But I had a client call the other day, actually. She sent me a text. We only had one session so far, right? And so I work on the recall like right away. And even before they see me, it's like a pre-training exercise to work on that stuff. And there's a visual to it, and it's a really good way to get your dog to come. And so she sent me a text. She said, I just got to tell you, if I never saw you again, if we didn't do any more sessions, I got my money's worth and I would pay you more, because what you taught me about the recall just worked. That the dog ran out the front door because the kid left the door open. It was a 6-month-old puppy and started running. And she did the words that we come up with. I do it for each dog. It's something different. And that dog made a U-turn and came flying back into the house. And she was about it in tears. Like she couldn't believe how well it worked. So I love stories like that.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you, like, two things I thought about asking you. I don't know if you would do this, but have you ever thought about training other trainers, or do you do some of that, or you don't want to train the competition, I guess?
No, it's nothing to do with competition. If you asked me to give you names of 3 trainers, I couldn't do it. Honestly. Like, I don't even know. I know a couple of them. Like, they've been around for a long time, and sometimes I see them out in public and stuff like that, but I do my own thing.
Okay. I guess you have published some books about...
Yeah. I've written 4 books. So I got a couple more that I'm working on, which I love doing. It's kind of my way. It's called the Legacy series, because it's kind of the way when I'm done with training, which will probably be like when I die, because like I'm not going to retire from this stuff because I love doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not a job. It's
not a job.
Passion,
yeah, for sure. But I want to leave some information behind so people can have some success with their dogs.
It sounds like you've developed a really cool method of doing that, and some of the things that most people would think about, because, we talked about shock collars and the spike collars, and those things you're not using those. And so,
like for shock collars and stuff, like there might be an application for that. Like if you're trying to train a dog for security reasons, right? You want to accelerate things, but you want a family pet, you got to create a relationship with that dog. Right. And so I have a case right now. I get emotionally even thinking about it, because these people, when I met with them, they were in tears. They hired a trainer who did the shock collar. It's a 7-month-old golden retriever. And now if they pick something up, a TV remote, a can of soda, something gets in their hand, the dog cowers and pees on the floor because it thinks he's going to get shocked.
Yeah.
And they're heartbroken by it. And I was heartbroken to see it. And so I don't disparage other trainers for doing those things, but for a family pet, you don't need it. And if you have a dog that's barking at other dogs because he has some fear-based anxiety, some aggression, and you start shocking that dog, you make it worse because what you're doing is, first of all, a dog with anxiety, they'll shut down at some point from that, right? But a dog that has fear and is barking and getting aggressive when they see other dogs, if you start shocking that dog, you're making it worse because the dog is making the association of that correction with the dog.
Oh,
They start pairing it together. And so it escalates, it gets worse.
Yep.
And so the distance threshold of when that reactivity would start gets it's bigger and bigger because they'll react earlier with the anticipation of getting that correction.
That's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Last thing I wanted to ask you, and I always ask our business owners we talk to, is where do you see your business in 5 years? Doing the same thing? Or
Yeah, I mean, I'm always adding something. Like, I'm always adding things that, like, I'll write some more books. Yeah, my business is good.
Yeah.
It's good all the time. Like, I really can't grow it anymore. Here's the thing about the dog business, like any dog business, it's pretty much recession-proof. People are always going to get dogs. COVID was huge. People got puppies. And then, 3-4 years later, then they got problems because they didn't socialize the dog. They didn't do the right thing. They were home with the dog all the time. Then they went back to work, and the dog's like, "Where you been?"
Yeah.
Then separation anxiety.
Got abandoned. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get a lot of those cases too. But my business, it's good. It's I do a lot of puppies, but the work that I really love doing is the behavioral stuff, and I do a lot of work that other trainers don't even want to do, because there's I've been bit a few times. So there's a risk in that stuff. But when you save a dog from being euthanized, or people, they don't know what to do and they want to keep the dog, but they can't keep the dog and no one wants it, and you save those things, I just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's pretty rewarding.
It really is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed to do this stuff. I don't even know. Somebody asked me the other day, how do you know this stuff? How do you know what to do? Because like someone will ask me, my dog is doing this, like something specific. Actually, yesterday, a 2-year-old dog, every time they go up and down steps, right, the dog is biting at their ankles and they can't go up and down the steps, right? Because like the dog is upstairs and it's chewing on and they can't, and they're getting older and they're afraid to lose their balance. And so they were telling me about this, and I didn't even know how, but things will hit me. Like I'll be in the moment, I'll be able to think of something to do just temporarily until we can figure out why the dog is doing that and then how to fix it. And so I developed this innate ability to be able to come up with something like in the moment, like a quick problem solve. And it was pretty simple. For this one was, I said, go get a leash. And they got the leash and we put it on the dog and we kept it close. And so the dog really couldn't bite the ankles going down the steps. We went one step at a time.
Right.
And so that's essentially what we're going to do to start, before you fix behaviors like that, you have to stop them from happening.
Right.
Because if they do it every day, it's rehearsal.
Right.
They rehearse it every day. They get good at it.
Yep. Yeah, my son, I'll tell you a funny story. So my son's dog, my son's a good cook. He lives in a kind of a smaller apartment, D.C., and so expensive. And so his apartment's relatively small. Well, if you get any kind of smoke going in the kitchen, it sets the smoke alarm off. And so it's very easy to do that. But his dog has sort of developed this anxiety about if you're in the kitchen, he goes in the bedroom. And it's so hilarious.
100%.
I'll tell my son, your cooking method, and like I said, your food's great, but your cooking method, if the smoke alarm doesn't go off, you're not cooking hard enough, But the dog literally, like if you go in the kitchen, he's out of there.
Yeah,
like he just
100%.
Yeah.
They start to problem solve on their own.
Yeah.
I had a case like that last year, actually. Anytime they would bring out a pot, right, and put it on the stove, the dog would lose his mind. Like literally would bounce off walls, running around, screaming.
Wow.
Like they didn't know what it was, but it was that. And it took a few sessions for me to figure out like why this was happening. And I said, have you ever had smoke alarm go off? They said, oh yeah. The guy was laughing. He said, my wife's not a great cook. so it's going off all the time. He says, I don't even hear it anymore, because
that's hilarious.
It's a regular thing, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
So we worked to desensitize the dog from it and make it a different association with what going in the kitchen means. Like when putting a pot on the stove means to the dog.
Yeah.
Give him a different behavior to do so that he didn't feel like this was coming.
Something's, yeah. Interesting. I want you to mention your website. So what's your website if anybody wants to look you up?
Yeah, it's Doglogics, DOGLOGICS.com.
That's awesome.
Pretty easy.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Been
great.
awesome.
It's
Appreciate
good.
it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Entrepreneur Perspectives. This show is produced by Quiet Loud Studios, where we create podcast writing and original media. Learn more at quietloudstudios.com.